And now to the case of the disappearing killers. Now, a few hours ago, Louisville police released body cam footage of officers who were responding to that horrific shooting. Now, we're not going to play them frame by frame out of respect for the victims, but you can see frames from the moment before police stormed the building and a still of the killer roaming the halls of the bank. We now know that the shooter was said to have known about his impending firing, but we also know that he was sympathetic to BLM and harbored deep anti-Trump sentiments. It's safe to say that you won't hear much more about him at this point. Much like we've stopped hearing about the motivations behind the Nashville shooter. But a new survey shows the public, well, it's demanding more. A Rasmussen poll out today shows that 2/3 of the U.S. voters say they want Nashville police to release the manifesto written by the shooter of that Christian school. And the name, of course, of the shooter was Audrey Hale. The manifesto was written. We were promised to see at least part of it. Haven't really heard anything about it. Joining me now, founder and CEO of Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk. Charlie, so we now have 2 leftist mass shooters in the last 2 weeks, and the response from our media and our political class and the establishment on the left is we've got to take guns away from conservatives. That's cute, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. And praise God, there wasn't a third in Colorado. Thankfully, that one was thwarted, but it seems that one was ideologically driven as well. You know, it's what's missing that is most interesting. In the last 10 days or 2 weeks, do you notice that we haven't seen these long profile pieces of journalists going to Tennessee and talking to the classmates of the shooter? What was this person like? Did they have certain sentiments? Was this trans ideology introduced? When was the turning point there? There's been some articles, but nothing close to what we saw, for example, with the Buffalo shooter. Remember, that manifesto was released almost immediately because in the manifesto, the great replacement theory was floated. That's useful to the media. Or how about the horrendous tragedy that happened in South Carolina? That was immediately mentioned because they said that was racially motivated. You see, if there's a tragedy that happens in America that does not fit a narrative, they try to bury it, or they try to go to guns immediately. Basically, they say, heads I win, tails you lose. No matter what, we're going to rig the game. We're going to set the narrative in a way that fits our own convenience. However, you hit on something important that we cannot lose focus on, which is a question that deserves answering. Is this trans ideology and the pharmacological agents that go along with the trans ideology creating violent and erratic behavior? I think the families from the Nashville school deserve an answer to that.
Well, Charlie, isn't it also the case that the left in America and even this White House is ginning up, without saying the words necessarily, but ginning up anti-Christian sentiment by referring to, trans activists as heroes and their bravery for standing up against the intolerant class, the haters. So these kids are learning to treat Christians as haters and mortal threats to their existence. So who's responsible for that propaganda, Charlie?
Well, not to mention Riley Gaines just was held hostage for multiple hours at a Turning Point USA event last week by trans activists. Karine Jean-Pierre said, and I want to make sure I quote her correctly, but something of the essence of you need to fight back. You need to fight this, sort of, using rather charged language. Not to mention the Biden administration came out and said that trans activists shape the soul of the nation. They shape the fabric of the nation. And these are not isolated incidents. This is now a pattern. And when we start to see a pattern emerge, we need to be able to have the courage and the willingness to point out that pattern and say, you're not a protected class in the sense that you're allowed to act outrageously and violent and go after people that you disagree with and use these sort of intimidation tactics. The media's intentionally not investigating these. And I pray, Laura, I'm wrong. I think there's something in that manifesto that they don't want us to see. I think there's something in that manifesto that shows that this is a social contagion that infected this poor person, that turned into an evil person, and committed something unspeakable. I pray I'm wrong, but this seems like a cover-up, and they have an agenda behind it.
Well, Charlie, I just keep thinking about all these people were young children. They were young boys and girls, and they were growing up, and something happened to them. And it seems demonic at this point. It's so evil. Charlie, thank you.